Hi, and good morning, Art 101 class. So, we're doing something obviously a little bit different today. We are not meeting in our normal classroom, but we are going to meet online here virtually. So, I am going to be sending you some assignments, and I'm making this video quick to just check in with you and also to show you a little demonstration of the colored pencil techniques that we're going to be using in our assignment this week. So last week before spring break and before all of this pandemic stuff was happening, we were working on our Zentangle images, and I'm hoping that you finished those during break. If you have not finished it, I would like you to get that done, and I'm going to ask that one of your parents or yourself email it to me. My email is amandajberger, BURGER, @gmail.com. I'm going to add everybody, if you haven't got it already, I'm going to add you to a Google Classroom, and that's where we're going to virtually meet and where I will post things, including this video. So, like I said, I'd like you to email me the Zentangle assignment so that I can make sure that you finished it and I can give you a grade for that. And then our next assignment is going to be some practice with colored pencil. I think I briefly talked about it in class the last time we met, but I couldn't remember how much I discussed it and whether or not I had shown you an example. So I'm going to just go through all of it. So if this is review, sorry. But I wanted to just kind of give you the rundown about what we're going to do. So this may seem kind of like a boring project in that there's not as much creativity, but that's because we're practicing those building blocks of art. So we're practicing our techniques, and once we have those techniques down, then we get to be creative with it. So this project is going to be kind of like the spheres that we did before our ice cream project. Remember, we did those big ice cream cones with the white colored pencil on black paper. And before we did that, we practiced by creating a sphere so that you could kind of work on the techniques before doing the more complicated project. So we're actually doing something very similar today. We are going to be creating two different spheres. They are going to be colored instead of black and white this time. One of them is going to be primarily warm colors, and the other one is going to be primarily cool colors. I've started this one, as you can see, and we are going to really be practicing our techniques with getting crisp edges and smooth transitions from the dark values to the light values. So each of these pieces of paper are 5 inches by 5 inches. So I'd like you to measure out 5-inch by 5-inch squares and cut those out. So you should have 2 small pieces of paper just like this. Then you're going to be drawing a circle. Now, I'm not worried about a perfect circle. That's not a technique I'm trying to teach you because it's pretty much impossible. What I'd like you to do is take something in your house like this that will fit on that 5-inch square that you can trace. So I traced the inside of this tape roll, but anything you can find, either a cup or something with a circle that you can trace that'll be about this size. It will take up a decent amount of that square. And then I'd like you to also have a horizon line behind the circle. So you won't go all the way through the circle. We want the circle to be in front. It's sitting on a surface, so we want a horizon line behind it. You can choose if you want your horizon line to be straight across, or you can make it kind of interesting and do a diagonal horizon line. And this is very similar. This is not new to you because we did this with our other spheres that we practice with. So 2 spheres with a horizon line is how you start. Now, I drew these kind of dark. I wish I would have actually drawn them a lot lighter with my pencil because I don't want a lot of pencil lines showing in your final piece. It should be all colored pencil. I don't want to have an outline here that is out of pencil. I want it to only be the color of the colored pencil. So I'm actually going to come in here I'm going to pause my video so I can find my eraser and try to lighten up those lines. Alright, so I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. I have lightened my lines so you can not see them quite as dark. You could just do that by drawing light lines. Don't use a heavy pressure when you are drawing. So I've got my handy dandy color wheel here because I want to talk and remind you a little bit about our color theory, especially analogous colors and complementary colors. So when we are talking about analogous colors, that means that they are next to each other on the color wheel. So when I look and check out for example, my orange, the analogous colors for orange are these ones that are next to it. And it actually kind of goes like all these neighbors right here, because this is orange, this is red orange, and yellow orange. But I would say actually when you have a simplified color wheel, red and yellow would be next to the orange if you didn't have these. These are tertiary colors. So we've got red and yellow are primary. Orange is the secondary. That's when you mix two primaries together, you get a secondary. And tertiary are when you mix a primary color and one of the secondary colors together, you get a tertiary color. I think we've talked about that before, but just a little reminder, refresher. So these are analogous colors because they are next to each other on the color wheel. Because they are neighbors and they share some traits, like these are all warm colors, they usually go well together. So when we are creating so I'm going to do my example with the warm sphere. We are going to be using the whole range of these warm analogous colors to create a very rich and vibrant sphere. And then we're actually going to be using some of these complementary colors, which means they're across each other from the color wheel. They're across from each other on the color wheel. So orange, across from orange, we've got blue. So blue is complementary to orange. What we're going to use that complementary color for is actually the shadows and the dark values on our sphere. We are not going to be using any black in this. Even though we are creating shadows, we're actually going to use these darker values that are complementary to our color to create shadows. By doing that, we just create a more realistic and vibrant color. Because in life, most shadows aren't really gray and black. They're a mix of all the different colors that are surrounding that thing. So like they're darker values of different, like if I had a shadow on my table, it's going to be a combination of the colors of the table and some darker values. So we want it to be really rich. We tend to avoid black in almost all like watercolors. I really don't let my students use black hardly at all, just because when you add black to a color, it tends to dull it. When you add white to a color, it also tends to make it more opaque. So we are not going to really be using white in this either. We're using the white of the paper itself shining through to create that lighter value. So I'm going to show you how we do that with colored pencils and how we really keep it very vibrant. There's a kind of a technique to it. So I'm going to pause my video and I'm going to rearrange the camera so that you can see what I'm doing while I talk about it, instead of just looking at my face. So I've changed the camera to show you my drawing, and I've got it kind of precariously balanced here. So hopefully it will work this way and I can use my both hands to draw and not hold the camera, but I might need to do a little adjusting, so I apologize for that. I already need to do that. And hopefully it will stay pretty steady. Okay, so I'm starting with my base color. That's going to be orange. And then I've got a whole bunch of other analogous colors set out here, ready to be used. both red and yellow and some colors in between. And now I'm going to start with my orange. The key to getting nice, crisp edges and smooth transitions from light to dark and dark to light with our colored pencil is really that you need to start very light. So to the point where I'm even holding my colored pencil up high, a lot higher than I would normally hold a pencil to draw, because I don't want to put too much pressure on it. I want it to really barely touch my paper as I make, we're going to do lots of light layering. So as you can see, I've started to fill in my circle. Now I'm going to have, you have to decide before you start where your light source is coming from. So I'm having my light source come from this corner. So it's going to, the highlight is going to be right about here. That's the shiny white part that's reflecting the light. So I'm still going to color all around this area, but I am going to leave a little bit of white in that center. Again, you want to do it real light. You can use kind of a circular motion because we don't want to have, this is a sphere and we don't want to have directional lines. Like if you colored only this way the whole time, you're going to see lines that go across and it's actually going to make it look flatter. It's not going to look as spherical and round and three-dimensional. And we really want this to look like it's going to pop off the page when we're done. So I am coloring on this edge here, but I'm going to leave the very center part white. I may or may not end up fast forwarding, speeding up this video so that you don't have to watch my whole process. But you can always pause it so you can stay following along, or you can, you know, watch most of it and kind of skip through, but I want you to pay attention to like the next steps. So as you can see, I'm already starting to do a little bit of layering with just the orange. It is darker towards the edges and getting lighter because I'm doing more layers on top. I'm not coloring really hard. I'm not really even increasing my pressure hardly at all. I'm just adding more pigment. So colored pencils are made out of pigment and then something that holds pigment in, like wax, kind of like a crayon. And if you push hard, you're going to deposit more of that wax onto your paper, and it will cover up the paper and not really allow other layers to go over top of it. So that's why we want to build it up slowly with light layers, because we don't want to fill up the paper with the one color and not have any like paper to be able to put more layers on top of. Okay, so I feel like I'm, for now, done with my orange because I want to leave a lot of white and keep it light so that I can add more layers. So now I'm going to take this kind of pinkish red. It says Blick Red. I feel like this is a very pinkish red. Doesn't feel like pure red to me. This one is a Prismacolor Crimson Red, and obviously you can see that they're quite different. They're both reds, but this is just plain red and this is crimson red. Crimson in general, when you see crimson on either a paint tube or a colored pencil, that generally means that it's a red that has a bit of a blue undertone to it. It's still red, but there's reds that have more of a yellow undertone, and there's reds that have more blue undertone. There's reds that have a more orange undertone as well. light, light, light layers. Be very gentle with your colored pencils because they're very fragile inside. Oh, hold on. Okay, sorry about that. I got a phone call and it interrupted my video, so hopefully we didn't lose anything there. But I'm still working on that second color, so I only have 2 colors on here right now. And I'm just doing another light layer, focusing on the edges because they are the darkest part. My goal is that you can't see any of my pencil lines, or my colored pencil lines, that it all blends really smoothly together. I know we have used colored pencil a little bit in the past in this class, but I wanted to give you a really focused lesson on them. And because we aren't in the classroom, I'm trying to focus on, I was going to do this lesson anyway, but I want to focus on materials that you most likely have at home. If you do not have any colored pencils at home, I'll make a note of this too in our Google Classroom, but I can set up some kits for parents to pick up at Hero. I just need to know if you need them or not so I can make up a kit for you. So I'll get you some colored pencils and put them in a bag with your name on it, and then your mom or dad can come and pick them up. So please email me or comment in our Google Classroom. I believe you can do that. I'm kind of new to the Google Classroom thing. If you need colored pencils or paper or anything. For the paper, you can just use regular old computer paper, like printer paper. That will be just fine. So you can see this is still mostly orange, but it's got some more subtle colors going on in it now. Okay. Now I'm going to come in with my yellow. And obviously this yellow is a lot lighter than both that red and the orange that I've already used. I'm going to be using this mostly in the highlight area that's not very white because it is a lighter value. I'm still leaving a tiny bit of white to reflect the light, but I want my sphere to not have quite so much white and have a little bit more depth of color to it. And actually, because you can probably tell from the video, but because this is a lighter color, I am pushing a little harder than I was pushing on like the pressure with my other 2 color pencils, just so I can get more color deposited. It actually looks a little different on my screen than in real life. Checking back in, so I did a layer of light blue, and now I'm doing a layer of this dark blue. I'm pushing much harder on this side because I like that color. So as you can see, I've pretty much completed the background top section. Now I'm working on the bottom section where the sphere is sitting on. And I have a lot more layers, and I'm pushing harder, putting more pressure on this shadow area, but it still has both the warm and cool colors in it. So it's got oranges in it and reds in it, and now I'm adding blues and purples. And I want them to just kind of all blend together. Now, it may seem like a simple project, but to do a good job with this, you do need to go slow, a lot slower than you probably want to go. So just try to train your brain to take it slow so that you can build up those layers slowly. It's really hard. I always want to go faster than I should because it seems simple. But if you go fast, then you don't end up doing a good job. So I want to see craftsmanship. I want to see that you are paying attention to the instructions. I want to see that you have a good grasp of how to blend those colors together. I'm still going to keep on working on this, but probably turn off the recording so that I can finish getting this nice and filled with color so it's not a lot of white showing through. And I might even take my white and add a little bit of white into here just to blend it a little bit. That actually, the white kind of works as a blending tool. Alright, so I will be back. Okay, I wanted to show you how white can kind of be a blending tool. So I'm pushing a lot harder now than I would normally because I've got a lot of layers again. And I want it to just kind of smear those layers that I already have down together. I'm doing it only on this side because this is the side that's supposed to be lighter. I'm going to wipe off the residue on there, and I'm going to even come in and do a little bit of blending in here too. So you can use white, you just have to know how to use it. You don't want to go over all of it or it will get dull. But it does work pretty well for blending. Okay, so I'm pretty much done. I might come in and tweak a little bit here and there, but you can see that my whole paper is covered with color. There's not a lot of that. See, I see some white showing right here, and I don't really like that. I'm going to come back in and blend that out with more color, but most of this is covered, and you don't see a lot of lines. You don't see a lot of, sorry, as I say things, I notice parts that I want to fix because there's some lines showing here. You don't want to see those directional lines with your mark making. And I chose to do my warm sphere with a cool colored background so that the sphere would really pop out from the background. So that's what I want to see. Again, you need to do two of them. One of them needs to be a warm sphere, one needs to be a cool sphere. And you might have noticed, but I'm going to show you. These are all the colors I used in just this right here. So you can see that it's not as simple as it looks. There's a lot of layering and a lot of different colors blending together to create this. So you will use a lot of colored pencils. And I will be able to tell if you don't. And that is the end of our lesson for today. So I would like your parents or yourself to take a picture of your completed project and email them to me, or possibly post them in Google Classroom if that's possible. I'm not even sure. But I'd like to see your completed work, your warm and cool spheres, and as well as your Zentangles by the end of the week. So by like Sunday night or Monday morning next week, I'd like to see those. I hope you enjoyed our little online class today, and I can't wait to see your colored pencils, your colored pencil work. So again, if you do not have colored pencils at home for this project, please let me know or have your parents contact me so that I can make sure that you get them. We have supplies at Hero, and I can set up some art kits to send home. But I'm hoping that you all have colored pencils at home. Maybe, I know some of you might have borrowed some from me, but I don't remember. So I will see you back here soon. Bye.